Critics argue if there are living apes, then there should also be dead apes. Wildlife expert Peggy Callahan plans an experiment that could shed light on why no carcass has been found.
People always want to hear about how they live. Equally important to a scientist is how animals die and what happens beyond their death. There's so much exciting information to be learned just by watching one deer.
Peggy Callahan and photographer Jim Tittle want to see how long it takes for a large animal carcass to decompose.
This is our time-lapse camera housing. It's a waterproof camera case made out of plastic. In order to accommodate the camera, we've cut a hole right here in the side and attached a clear glass filter for the camera to look through.
They have acquired a fresh roadkill deer carcass for the test, fixed to the ground to prevent scavengers from carrying the deer away.
For the most of the flesh and hair, etc., to disappear, I'm going to give it about a month in this kind of weather, everything combined. For the bones will go to good use, but they'll be distributed across the countryside, across the landscape, and they'll disappear below leaf cover, below other plant life, etc. So we will not see evidence of this deer in 2 months.
The camera will snap a picture of the carcass every 10 minutes for 7 consecutive days. If the deer completely decomposes, it could explain why no dead skunk ape bodies are found, if they exist. The time-lapse experiment is done.
I have never seen anybody take a time-lapse, start to finish documentation of the decomposition or disappearance of a deer or an animal like that in the woods. It's really a neat process. Many of us have put carcasses out there and then have come every day to try to read the signs, but this gives us a chance to see it, everything that happens from start to finish. It's an exciting process.
Well, now the time-lapse sequence has started.
Wildlife expert Peggy Callahan and photographer Jim Tittle have set up an experiment to see just how long it takes for the remains to disappear. Callahan is viewing the time-lapse for the first time.
I would imagine that everything from raccoons to skunks to mink, coyotes, bear, etc., have the potential to make a visit. Perhaps a few domestic animals, 2 cats, dogs, because it's going to smell, and it's here in August. It's a free meal, in addition to all the bugs and things that we'd expect to come and eat on this thing during this week. So that's what I would look to see in this footage. This funny scene has a little possum that took a quick look and decided against eating, it looks like. And as time goes on, we have flies showing up all of a sudden. The decomposition's making this deer bloat up pretty fast and pretty hard. It looks like we've got all kinds of bug activity down here. Oh, and the maggots are taking over and are going to make short work of that. Look at the maggots. Wow. And then the maggots leave. When they're done, they leave. That's just amazing. So they take their meal and they move on and become flies somewhere else. How efficient is that? That's amazing. That is just an incredible display.
The time-lapse experiment does yield some new insight. Callahan estimated it would take at least a month for the carcass's hair and flesh to be removed, making the remains mostly unrecognizable. In this case, Mother Nature's smallest creatures did the job in only 7 days. The remaining pile of bones would either be quickly covered by foliage or carried off by larger scavengers, leaving only traces of the corpse, and the victim unidentifiable to all but the most experienced eye.
I would imagine that a carcass in an even more humid, moist environment with even more bugs and more opportunities for mold and decomposition would go quickly, like the Everglades, for example. There would be less left, in my opinion, after a week in a moist environment.